new dads or soon-to-be dads, I'm doing a whole video series on tips, tricks, and educational material that we should know when we're about to go through the process of becoming a dad, or if you're already a brand new dad right now. Just more tools for your tool belt so you know how you want to structure your parenting style. I'm getting a lot of information from this book on becoming baby wise that one of my aunties that I look up to as a mom recommended, and I'll do a whole review on that book in another video. But right now I'm going to talk about clock feeding, which is a philosophy of child feeding. So in the early 1900s, like around 1900, there was a bunch of child philosophies that were coming out and being published through newspapers, magazines, and stuff like that, and people were changing the way that they wanted to parent. And then in the 1920s, women were starting to finally get their independence, and they were doing this in ways like smoking cigarettes, wearing short skirts, going out more, being more independent and emboldened to live their life how they wanted. And part of that was bottle feeding. And since formula was just recently invented, it was a lot more possible to bottle feed instead of breastfeeding. The philosophy of clock feeding came about, and the way that would work is they would only feed their baby every 4 hours on the dot. So if the baby started showing hunger signs earlier than 4 hours, they would just let the baby cry it out until that 4-hour mark, and then they would finally feed the baby. And they would do this on the dot to the minute. And that is clock feeding, as opposed to child-led feeding, which is when you watch the baby and when they show hunger signs, you feed them at that time. And there's more than 2 philosophies on child feeding, but those are the 2 that were competing at that time. And they still kind of compete to this day. People will look at the clock and be like, I just fed you. I know you're showing hunger signs, but I'm not going to feed the baby until this certain amount of time has passed. So if there's any parents out there that have used clock feeding on their babies and want to share their experience, drop some comments below, and I'll talk about other philosophies of feeding in some future videos that I'm about to post.